Hello, everyone. Welcome to Elevate 21, the future of cloud powered by Spaulding Ridge. Thank you for everyone to taking the time to discuss an amazing topic today. My name is Jay Laabs. I am the CEO of Spaulding Ridge. I've been working in the digital transformation space for about 25 years, primarily advising the C-suite on their cloud initiatives or digital transformation. We are joined by Dan Springer, CEO of DocuSign. Dan, do you mind giving us a short background?
Absolutely. So you want to know about DocuSign or you want to know about me, Jay? Where do you want me to go?
Well, first, how about we start with you, Dan?
All right, good. So I'm a SaaS veteran, I guess. So before DocuSign, I ran a company that was called Responses, public company in the email marketing centric space. And we sold that to Oracle in 2013. I spent a very short amount of time post that acquisition. Safra was great. They did everything they said they were going to do, but there just wasn't a great role there for me long term. And then I spent a few years as a full-time dad. I had 2 teenagers, so I stayed home for a few years, which was amazing. And I recommend it to anyone if you're fortunate enough to get the chance where the timing aligns. And then I came to be the DocuSign CEO in 2017, January of 17. It's been a great run. We went public in 18. And it has been, we've been really fortunate. It's been a good time for SaaS software. And if you think about what you hit up front with what you're trying to power, the good news is the market is hungry for that sort of digital transformation and the innovation that they need in their technology platforms to run their businesses. So both of us are kind of in the right place at the right time.
Yes, can say that again. But when you have great technology like DocuSign has, it's easy to be a partner like us out in the market. It is really amazing when it does everything that we say it's going to do. So thanks for that.
We both like that, and
yes.
our customers in the end. Yeah,
they sure do. Well, you mentioned the remarkable growth of DocuSign, and congratulations on recently hitting 1 million customers. So it's a big mark. And doing this in the middle of the pandemic. Can you maybe comment a little bit on where you see the growth coming from and how this is influencing your go forward decision making?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is, so when people think about DocuSign, traditionally, of course, people immediately thought e-signature. And there's no question e-signature is what brought us to the dance. But increasingly, starting about 4 years ago, we heard our customers say to us, we love e-signature, but it's not the entirety of what we need around these business processes. And so we had a lot of increased demand to say, well, how are we, before we sign agreements, how are we going to get them built? How are we going to prepare them? And then when we have to integrate those, the information that come from those agreements into our other information systems, how do we do that? And finally, what do we do with all of that information? Where do we put those agreements? Where's the repository for them? How do we have capabilities to search against them and use sort of advanced, sort of implementation capabilities and then advanced integration capabilities to really understand the data that comes out of there. So we started on this path to build out what we call the DocuSign Agreement Cloud. And that's actually when you and I started spending more time together, when you said, hey, signature's great, but that's not substantive enough for us to really build out the program for our clients. When we started bringing out the broader Agreement Cloud, particularly around things like CLM and advanced analytics, then you started to say, hey, we could really do some damage for our customers here together. And that is what I think the future really is for us. It's to take that strength we had in the core, but really build out that broader Agreement Cloud. And increasingly, we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, we see that we want to do that within the partner ecosystem so that we can go to our customers and say, we're going to focus on building the best software. You're going to focus on your business. Now let's bring in a fantastic implementation partner that can get you set up using our and other people's, right? It's not exclusive to DocuSign. We want people like Spaulding Ridge to say, let's go get all of the best of breed technologies out there and integrate them into one client solution.
Yeah, well, I can echo a lot of that. for those that know me, my background is really a little more specific to the CFO's office and advising the CFO's office. And I get questioned a lot, why did you make this big investment in DocuSign? And, I tell everyone in my last stop before this, I was a public company executive of a business unit. And at the end of every quarter, the last 2 or 3 days, it seemed like all I was doing is shuffling paper, looking for signatures on different statements of work to make sure that we could recognize revenue appropriately to meet the quarterly estimates. And it was a crazy amount of time and effort spent when knowing what was possible in DocuSign. I just kept thinking, if we get this message, if we can help get this message out there, everyone is going to want to be a part of that. And certainly seeing how it's impacted our Agreement Cloud clients and even, we use it ourselves to, speed up our own, the velocity of closing deals, especially, it's been nothing short of amazing. And once again, thank you for that, Dan. The future of work, let's, talk about that for a minute, with your seat of, just leading a rapidly expanding business. But, how are we going to, come out of this? We're really kind of in the first, second inning. What are your thoughts on remote, going fully in person, some sort of hybrid? Where do you think this is going to go? What's DocuSign's stance?
Yeah. So we've been thinking a lot about this, obviously, both for our own business, right? And to your point with the growth, last quarter, we just announced 58% revenue growth, and we hired 40% more people than we had a year ago. So we got a lot of business growth that we need to manage and figuring out that right model. So we've really come up with a sort of a construct to talk about it, Jay, which we call it the anywhere economy. And our view is that increasingly businesses are going to have to realize that their employees and their customers and their partners and suppliers are going to require them to be available and able to interact with them anywhere. It's not just work from home. It really is from anywhere. And I think your hybrid point is spot on. We think that we're going to have a majority of our employees move to a flex model where they work sometimes from home. And by the way, sometimes we say from home, but that could be on vacation. That could be any number of places, sitting at the beach. And that's not our concern, right? We want to give them the flexibility to do their jobs as long as they do their job well, wherever they see fit. But they'll also be in the office sometimes too. And we think the value of collaboration there is going to be, really important, particularly for our young people to develop their careers. So companies are going to need to leverage technologies that allow them to have that flexibility. And so we see a lot of the, as you said, the manual and paper-based processes, they just don't work well if you get outside of everyone being in the same building together kind of all the time. Or at your end of quarter close, at least they needed to be in there those days because that was the only way you could go through those things manually. And so we believe that we're building software and we believe we're partnering with folks, like Spaulding Ridge, that are allowing people to leverage that software truly from anywhere at any time. And that flexibility, I think, is going to empower companies that are truly going to be successful because they're giving choice to their workers to do it in the way they want to do it. And we think that's going to not only make them more successful in delivering their business, but it's going to make these customers that leverage these technologies, they're going to actually win the war for talent because they're going to get employees that say, I want to work at a company that's built the systems that allows me to be part of the anywhere economy and doesn't sort of shackle me to, 1 or 2 or 7 let me do it anywhere, anytime. That I think is going to be the key. So that's kind of our vision for how it's going to play out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Our employees are really just, give me a laptop, be nice to have an extra monitor wherever I am, but I don't want to have to deal with paper. I don't want to have to be dependent on the mail for anything.
Yeah.
And, I just think it's accelerating this trend. So going further into this, as you look to hire, which we all know is very challenging in this economy, or at least finding the right talent, how are you looking for anything different, from the traits of an ideal candidate than, you might have before all this?
Yeah, it's funny. I would say that the changes in the kind of characteristics are less dramatically different as we're thinking about coming out of the pandemic. But I think there's a couple of things that we always looked at that we're putting even more focus on. So one of the things that became really clear to us is when the pandemic hit and our volume, one of the hard things to talk about publicly, Jay, is that actually COVID increased the rate of people using DocuSign. So we grew even faster than we had grown pre-pandemic. And obviously the pandemic was a terrible thing in every dimension possible, with the mild exception of it slightly increased our growth rate. And so while we'd much rather not have had a pandemic, not having to take, 4,000 DocuSigners, send them home, add 2,000 new DocuSigners. We now have 6,000 of them since the pandemic. We wish none of those, things had happened. But what we saw is that certain characteristics really matter. And one of them was people who were really committed to our values. And customer success is the first value we always talk about at DocuSign. And we saw the DocuSigners, by and large, just stepped it up. And we had customers who had the problem that you were describing, like, some of this stuff is really basic. We sent our contracts in FedEx envelopes to our customers. Well, now we didn't have any place to send them because our customers weren't in the office. So what were we where are we going to send them? Or what if they had to be routed around to 4 people? Or we're supposed to get 4 FedEx? I mean, they just had no idea how to do it. So we quickly needed to focus. And our employees have pulled together and said, I just got sent home. I'm no longer working in my DocuSign office. And now you're asking me to do this dramatic increase in the work. And the answer is they did it because it was about customer success. So that was one thing that I think we put even more focus on, is people who really have that commitment to our values, willing to have their ego low, not focused about them, but to be focused about sort of the bigger mission that we have. That's one thing I say is accelerated. The other piece that I think is more subtle, but we're seeing it more, I think, increasingly across the board, is this idea that people who are able to really think in a broad way about business situations and business problems are going to be more important. Because with the world changing and some of these like underpinnings that we just sort of took as foundational that all of a sudden were gone, people had to figure out different ways to get things done. Some people were more creative, more fast on their feet, and just figured out ways to get things done. And other people said, well, the process has changed. I'm waiting for someone to come tell me what to do. And so that kind of, quick on your feet, that sort of fast starter mentality, I think we've also decided, we always valued it. I think we're pushing that up a little bit as a higher priority.
Well, that makes sense. I go back to last April and May when we were thinking about how we were going to do some joint delivery around some of our projects. And literally we kind of had to get out the virtual whiteboard to relook at how we deliver for our clients. And those that could bring some ingenuity to the process, really make a big difference.
Absolutely.
So kind of along the same lines, how are you continuing to increase your customer service through this when we can't be as much in person? Anything different there that you're looking at doing, or anything you could add there?
Well, to be clear, we have a lot of DocuSigners who are looking forward to being able to get back in front of customers that we haven't let them do, right, because of the health concerns of the pandemic. And so we know we have a lot of demand there. But I do think we've figured out some stuff, Jay, to make ourselves effective in serving customers when we can't hop on planes and come into other people's offices, quite frankly. First thing is we have really redoubled our own investment in the technology around support and trying to figure out more and more ways to automate aspects of serving customers with DocuSign. And we think that's just critically important that we continue to be sort of a leader in investing there. And the second big area is something we've talked about, or you and I have talked about for years, is our vision has always been that we want to leverage the broader network. So we don't want to have lots and lots of services people at DocuSign. We want to have people who are focused on customer success, and we'd like to leverage the broader network of people that are really hands-on, working with our clients in their offices to the extent it's appropriate, virtually until we get there. And so one of the reasons we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how we can really extend our reach through services partners, that's going to be a key part of our success. And while I do think we can get to know our customers well, having someone that's going to work as an integrator across all of their technologies, because quite frankly, people don't come to us and say, hey, can you integrate DocuSign technologies into our company plus a bunch of other technologies? It just doesn't, like, our ProServe wouldn't have that expertise. So we want to do more and more where we have our services people help train people like you guys. And I forget the exact numbers, but you've got I think maybe 100-ish people that you've sort of trained up on DocuSign. And so that's a lot of reach, for us, at 100 people that we don't have to hire, that we can, leverage your guys' expertise. So that model, I think you're going to see us go more and more into, and make our job to make your people expert. And that's work, right? Because it is real work to become expert architects in, complex software that we're building to run people's businesses. But if we can be successful at making you guys expert, we're going to get a lot better reach and a lot better end customer experience than trying to do that ourselves.
Well, I give you and your broader team a lot of credit. Having worked in this space for 25 years, I've worked with a lot of different vendors, and you really had to pivot from doing all this work yourself to scale, work with other partners and get us up to speed. Because before all this happened, it wasn't like there were hundreds of DocuSigners kind of walking around the street that we could pull in and help scale. We really had to look for a set of characteristics and line them up with your training to get them in a place where they could quickly deliver value to our joint customers. And it's once again, your team did a great job supporting us through that motion.
Oh, we appreciate it. And it really goes both ways, right? Because Jay, if you think about it, we asked you guys to take a little leap of faith, right? We said, hey, we're building out this broader platform. And while you always said from the beginning, when we first met, hey, we think DocuSign's a great company, we'd love to build a practice around you, but you don't, at that time, in the early days, we didn't have that full portfolio that you could really invest to build that. And so you took a little bit of leap of faith with us, which we really appreciated, to say, yeah, we'll hire some people, we'll get a little sort of ahead of the work curve a little bit, which is, it makes one nervous, right? You get a little bit ahead of that curve because you're still paying them. And so we feel good about that bet you made on us.
Well, the right kind of talent likes to work with the right kind of companies. And so given that you guys are out there innovating, I think that also, both you personally, but also your company haven't been afraid to take some stands on some issues. It was pretty easy for us to get behind you and really go all in. How do you see Agreement Cloud evolving as we go back to work?
Well, a couple of things. First, as we talked about earlier, Jay, I think that the concept of going back to work and this kind of anywhere economy is going to turbocharge the need for people to have Agreement Cloud type, software and Agreement Cloud solutions, because they are going to have to serve people, as we said, anytime, anywhere. In terms of the absolute sort of construct of where it's going to change in terms of like the product roadmap and the focus areas, I think there's a couple of things. One is we do believe CLM is going to be key and sort of at the center of this. The concept of having that repository, particularly where you can sort of use that intelligent search to get information about your business, to run your business better, I think that's going to be key. And then the second component, and this is where I think you guys are going to be critical, it's around integrations. And so as people start to say, you know what, I'm buying into this vision that we are sort of jointly bringing to the marketplace of an Agreement Cloud, and really of thinking about that as one of your core, just like CRM and HRIS, and this idea that this is the next big cloud opportunity. It's going to have to integrate well with their whole business, right? It doesn't do them any good to have this one little component and then they have a bunch of processes they got to sort of do in a manual way to connect to the rest of the business. And so these hooks and these connections, and sometimes that's going to be the pre-built integrations. We have over 350 pre-built integrations of thoughtful software that people would want to have. But we also have this award-winning API library, and the combination of some of our software and some of your people and their expertise to really, really sort of integrate into the company in a way that sort of sometimes it's a very bespoke system, even though you're taking quote unquote off the shelf software, but getting those integrations done to make it really work for your client. That is when, at the end of the day, I think can be the biggest development that you and I have to get right together, so that we become truly expert at giving someone that end solution that their business can truly feel automated on. That's probably the biggest area.
Yes, we can see a lot of these intersection points. I was just having a conversation last week with one of our Anaplan clients, actually doing commission calculations. Yeah. And so what they were trying to figure out is they use Salesforce, and so when they close the opportunity, it goes through and then calculates commissions for the seller, but then they wanted to automate the statement that then the seller had to go sign off on in order to get paid. And we're like, well, this is a perfect opportunity to include, DocuSign is part of your process. And we kind of see it, the cloud winners, all of these intersection points to just streamline processes. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to help our joint customers as we now get out, hopefully get a chance to see them in person and solve some of these challenges out in the field.
Well, I think you're spot on. And what's great about your example there is you think about Anaplan, you think about Salesforce, you think about DocuSign. The fact is we have bi-directional integrations between each of those, legs of the stool. So someone in theory, right, if you do your job right, the way this should work, and I trust you will do your job right, someone could say that entire piece is done. Person puts in the closed one in Salesforce, it updates it in Salesforce, it triggers the need to have the statement be generated in Anaplan, which triggers the need to have the email sent to the employee to say, sign off that this is in fact your right commission, which then that information go right back into your financial system. And now you have a thing where you're sitting down with your auditors, if you're a public company, and they're saying, yeah, there's no risk here, right? This is an auditable process that we can see with thoughtful bi-directional feeds, and no one has to spend any time on it, right? The job is done when the person says closed and won. And that is, I think, the magic that we get so excited about, is imagining someone and saying, now, how many hours different people would have spent on each of those pieces, and how much manual checking, and then going back and say, well, did the person, fat finger the number when they put it in? And all of those things have to be checked and audited if you don't have that truly integrated system. Once you have it, the savings, in not just time in terms of labor, but the process is just done. And it might take me back to the story you were telling earlier, end of the quarter, finding the piles of paper and trying to think which one. Like, there just shouldn't be a need for someone to do that. It should be done instantaneously so they can focus on selling those last few days, not sort of accounting for the work.
Yeah, one last round of negotiations to get in there, right?
Exactly. Payment terms could be changed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today and sharing your insights, both on where DocuSign is going, but also just the state of work as we return to work following the pandemic. And, just on a personal note, like I said earlier, thank you for your leadership as well. In all aspects of life, we're really excited and grateful to be one of your partners.
Well, we really appreciate the partnership as well, Jay. Thank you for the opportunity to chat, with customers here and other Spaulding Ridge folks. But we really are pleased, and we are super excited about the path ahead that we have together. I think we're going to do a lot of great business and deliver a tremendous amount of really substantial customer success. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dan.
All right.